their undoing. The last point I'd like to make, and for your comments, is the way that I see the world. I talked about this last week on the show, is that I see that you've got the globalist cabal, the globalist elite, which is the woke WF, those extreme left, agenda, which is now falling to pieces around the world. Then you might have the Zionist faction on the other side, but this emerging power, which I see as the future, and both the globalists and Zionists seem to want a one world government, but the emerging power is the BRICS, which is really, being led by great leadership by Russia. And the BRICS want a multipolar world. So we have to accept, if we look, let's say go forward 5 years from now, the chances of America not having a major economic collapse or major default is pretty low. I think it's over 50% now, I would predict, as high as 80% within 3 years. So if we go the next 3 to 5 years, it's possible that Russia leading the BRICS will become the emerging new power in the world that wants a multipolar world with trade, not war, peace and everyone getting along. What's your view in the next 5 years? Can you see that BRICS becoming, one of the most powerful, alliances in the world?
Well, it's not a matter of can we see. It's happened. It's happened. The BRICS GDP has outstripped the GDP of the West. The West is not a lot of people, by the way. When we talk about the West is only about 700 million people, compared to BRICS is 4 to 5 billion by now. It's and as the developing countries catch up to the Western standards and overtake Western standards in terms of GDP, quality of life, and so forth, the West is losing. Indonesia joining BRICS on Australia's borders. It doesn't seem to concern Australia. Australia should join BRICS. Australia needs to figure out that it has to be on the right side of history. China's the future, right? China is just way too strong. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to realize that. And where is China placed? China is placed in a great, strong alliance with Russia. Russia has proven that it's going to fight for its interests. The Russian military is the strongest it ever has been. I don't know, maybe since 1945, because we have so much experience, right? Russia's allies are very impressed with Russia. Iran, India. India has managed to stay on Russia's side without denouncing Russia, and has been benefiting from Russian oil, cheap Russian oil. So at the end of the day, BRICS is the future. It's already the future. The West is in decline. And as Vladimir Putin promised the West, he warned the West, if you want to fight us through a proxy war in Ukraine, don't be surprised when all sorts of things around the world start happening. Even things you can't imagine. Undercurrents, 5D chess, layers behind layers of things happening. And the West thinks, well, why has this happened? Or why has that happened? Or why has this gone not to plan? Because you tick Russia off. Russia has a long memory. It remembers its friends, but also remembers its enemies. At the moment, Russia's busy. But down the track, things will happen, right? I'm not talking about some types of physical threats or petty stuff. I'm talking about geopolitical things. We're planning for 100 years in advance, like China does. They don't look at tomorrow. They don't look at in 10 years. They look at 150 years. That's what I'm talking about, right? Those type of initiatives. And then Russia has now the motivation. It has a reason not to be nice to the West, not to be kind to the West. If the enemies of the West need weapons, need hypersonic missiles, need nuclear missiles, why would Russia not supply them? Give me one reason why Russia should be nice to the West, right? The West has done everything possible to cause the Russian people to spill blood, murdering Russians. How many Russians have been killed by Western drones, by Western missiles, right? My own family members were killed. My compadre, my father, Michael Vasiliev, I'm the godfather to his children. He was killed in 2022 by an American US HIMARS missile. Why are there HIMARS missiles? Why are there any missiles hitting Russian land, right? Ukraine, Russia, it's all Russian land anyway. It always was, okay? We don't mind Ukrainians. Let them have their songs and their dialect and so forth. But be friends with us. Live with us together. Don't close our churches. Don't arrest our veterans. Don't promote Nazism. Don't destroy memorials to our victorious, heroic Russian people who defeated Nazism in World War II. So that's the bottom line. And at the end of the day, Russia will win, and there's no problems.
Well, yes, it's very interesting. Thank you for your time, Aussie Cossack. We always appreciate your insights, and I think it's very valuable, not just to Australian viewers, but around the world, to hear a different perspective and really understand. And we've seen over the course of the last 2 or 3 years that many things that you've said and we've said on independent media has now come true, because we're just highlighting the truth, not the Western propaganda that if we don't push, they'll call us foreign interference. So we'll welcome you back in the future. Thanks for your comments.
Thank you.
There you have Aussie Cossack, still locked away in the Russian consulate, but sharing his perspective. Not a lot of Russian interference I see there, just Russian, or not even Russian, he's Australian, sharing commentary about what's going on and being against the war. So more to come on that. But that's all we have for this episode, folks. We will be back tomorrow, actually. I will have a Jewish influencer on the show. He speaks out and shares many of the things that I have. I have many Jewish friends. But let's hear from the Jewish what they think about Netanyahu, Israel, the Zionist Cabal. And, you'll be surprised that some of the Jewish views, we'll hear about that tomorrow. That's all for this episode. Take a look at one of our sponsors, one of their projects as well that helps support independent media and make this show possible. Talk to you soon.